Hey, everybody. Today, my guest on Half Hearted is Toronto comic and ladies' man, Derek Kalala.
Thank you for having me, Jay. We've been talking about doing this for a while. I'm excited to finally take the seat.
Yeah, man. In the tiny space.
Yeah.
I want to get more stuff. I want to get like more art and stuff around, but off
That's
and
an
running.
interesting piece. Is that a skeleton smoking a blunt?
I think it's just a cigarette, but yes.
Oh, you should definitely tell people it's a blunt. It's way cooler if it's a blunt.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're the first person who's actually like asked about it. But
Really?
I'll let them presume whatever it is. But I just love the idea that even in death, like a guy's like, oh god,
Still need a smoke.
like yeah, I'm dead and it still sucks.
I mean, the health concerns are gone at that point. So
No.
I guess at that point
It's all
light
first,
them
like,
up, right?
It's all psychological. Just Jesus, like just.
That's so funny, just the exhale of it. I mean, I feel like if you're dead, you'd want to blunt more, right? You want to get high.
I know, but then
Enjoy the afterlife?
you can't.
Why? Because
Well, like if you're well, I mean that. I don't know if anybody's ever said like, what happens when you die? Like smoke weed.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever said that.
I mean, if there's no weed in heaven, I don't want in. There's got to be blunts. Got to be blunts when you show up to purgatory, at least for the waiting line.
Did you say
right?
purgatory?
Is that not the word?
Purgatory.
Purgatory.
Yo, you just invented a new drug word. Purgatory. Yo, that guy's on perks. Yeah,
I was thinking of Percocet.
Yeah, somebody done too many Percocets. You're in purgatory.
That's what happens when you do too many sets.
Dude, that's so funny.
That's good
wordplay.
Yeah. Turn it into
purgatory.
A bit,
well, I mean, I can identify with that because when I was, I want to say like early 30s, I had a kidney stone.
Oh shit.
And it messed me up because they had to go up my wiener to blast it.
Fuck.
And then a month later, I was still having like pain. And so they went in up my wiener again. And then they're like, oh, I guess we missed half of it. And the other half is now like endangering where you're like, your kidney drains into your bladder.
Yeah.
And it was like threatening to like block over. So I had to have like 3 surgeries to get out 1 kidney stone. And I was on Percocets for like 6 months.
I've never done, I say done like it's a fucking street drug. But like I know people that like do Percocets. Like, man, like you know I can get perks. I'm like, I don't know where you can get perks, dude. Like, how does it feel like? It's just like a pain
I mean,
kind of drug?
like I think you are pretty well aware that I'm not like a super drug guy.
Yeah. I'm aware.
Yeah. And when I did Percocet for the first time, I was like, it feels like a warm hug.
Oh shit.
And then you hear other people who are, more into it describe it the exact same way.
Yeah, fair.
It's there's a guy on Rogan who said like it felt like I was in a warm vat of honey. Like, because the kidney stone hurt so bad that I could feel the Percocet kick in. I could feel the pain actually go away in real time. Because I feel like
kind of like morphine, right? Like kind of like morphine.
Yeah, I think they're all opiate based.
Yeah, fair, yeah.
So
it's all just opiates.
Yeah, so it you could feel it was so strong because usually when you take an Advil, it's like, oh, my headache's gone. You kind of like don't notice it.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of like check in an hour later, like, oh, I guess it worked. It's gone. But you don't feel your headache just go gone. Whereas with Percocet, whatever pain you got going on,
you notice it?
Done.
Dude, no wonder people are chasing that on the street. Because if you're not in pain, then all you feel is that warm feeling. Like nothing goes away.
Well, I don't even think
on.
I think the whole opiate epidemic took place because of overprescription. Like doctors were giving it to people for, things that you probably didn't need a pain medication that's strong for, or you did have some sort of injury or pain that it was required for, and then you got hooked on it. Right? It's like, yeah. I had a bad back. I was in an accident. I was taking these pills. Now my back is fine, but I'm addicted to these pills.
I feel like that's a lot of the stories that I hear about people kind of getting into those kind of stuff. It's, like I was on them post surgery and then I had one more prescription to fill. The pain was gone, but I
Yeah.
filled it anyway. And then I just noticed I just like being on Percocets. And now,
Oh yeah, man. It
now I'm
was like
chasing them on the streets.
it was yeah, and then you get cut off from your drug company, or cut off from your benefits, cut off from your doctor, and then you chase it wherever you can find it. And I think that happened to a lot of people.
I mean, I've luckily never had to do a surgery for anything, so I've never had to be on like serious pain meds.
Yeah.
Like T3 is as hard as I've ever gone.
Yeah,
That's it for me, you know. But no, I can definitely feel for someone who's like you get so used to experiencing that when they're just like, okay, this is your last prescription, you're like,
yeah. Oh yeah. When I got cut off, I was like
yeah,
the whole,
you felt it.
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay.
And then I think because up till then I wasn't smoking weed at all, and then I only started doing it after when Trudeau got elected, and I was like, I found myself missing that euphoric feeling.
Did you start smoking weed when it became legal?
Or just before, when the gray market dispensaries were all over Toronto.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, so that's when I was started getting into it. Dude, it was too hard. Like I'm the guy who, like, if I want to find drugs, I start with Craigslist. Right? Like that's the first place I'm gonna look. I didn't know any. Then I started doing comedy, and I feel like I can get any drug I want at any time.
Oh yeah, just talk to the host. Talk to the host at any show. You'll find whatever you're looking for. But it is so funny. Like I find a lot of people now just started smoking weed because of how ubiquitous it is. It's like everywhere you go, there's just a weed shop, right?
My wife calls weed like the new smell of the city.
It is. Honestly, like when I walk, like I was on my way here and this girl walked by me and she was smoking what I thought was a cigarette. And within like 2 minutes, I was like, oh no, that's chronic.
Yeah. Took you 2 minutes?
It was like 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I know the smell of weed. Like you ever smell a skunk and you're like, is that weed? Is that weed?
Yeah. I feel like, there's something about a skunk that's like greasier.
Yeah.
There's something like in that smell that you can tell the difference.
It smells stale almost, right? Like the smell of weed smells obviously more organic, but like just more desirable.
I mean, it depends. Like I feel sometimes I'll smell weed and it smells like kitty litter.
Really?
Yeah, like they don't all smell good.
Fair enough. Like I guess
some of them smell great. You're absolutely right. And then some of them I think they do not smell good.
I feel like that's the difference between outdoor and indoor bud. Like I feel like indoor bud that's like curated, it's like crossed with a bunch of different things. Like that's designed to smell good, but when you're growing outdoor and it's just kind of left to the elements, that's when things can get a little dicey.
You know what? I've never been able to, but I'm obsessed with like growing. I love watching like grow videos.
Oh man, you should give it a shot.
That is not going to happen while I'm married.
Yeah, fair. And you
Dude,
kids,
actually, you want to hear a story I've never told anybody, which was that I wanted to smoke weed. This is pre-legalization, gray market, maybe even pre-gray market, and I wanted to, and I didn't know how I would ever get any. So I decided that I just would have to grow it myself. So I thought that I could start growing weed without my wife knowing about it. Like I thought I'm going to buy a little cupboard. I'm going to get these lights. I'm going to just stick it in this corner of the basement. I was living in a different house and I was never able to like put all the pieces together. So yeah, I never got that plan off the ground.
So the process,
probably for the best.
Like the process, I think I had buddies back when I was in high school who kind of did like the light where you just get the light, you put the plants in there and it just kind of grows, but it uses a shitload of energy. Like you'll notice that on your Powerball.
Yeah. I mean, so I know enough that everything's LEDs now. Yeah. It used to be that you had to go with like high capacity discharge lamps. I think that's so there was metal halide and
oh shit, you know this.
Yeah. And then they're high pressure sodium. And so like each one focused on a different part of the spectrum. But yeah, they're the same type of lights that are used in street lights.
Oh shit.
Those
really?
I
would have thought they were like for some reason I thought they were like UV lights, right? Like they had like a little bit more intensity, like ultraviolet maybe.
Well, no, I mean like you keep in mind how much a street light covers.
Yeah, true. I guess if you're right,
and they come in different wattages.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the original ones, and they consume so much power. But apparently, like, as long as you paid your bill, that's how people got caught, is they weren't paying their power bills.
That's like the dumbest way to get caught. So you literally just got caught by like a meter maid, came in and checked your meter. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, like back in the day when like there was especially like small towns, apparently there's just grow ups everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and the rumor was that the cops could tell which houses were growing in the winter. They could fly over neighborhoods in a helicopter, and all the grow ups didn't have any like snow on the roofs because the houses were so hot.
So hot, yeah. I mean, like I have a few friends now who grow it from like spring to October. Yeah, like my buddy was like, "Hey, do you want to come chop weed with us?" It's harvesting season every October, and I'm like, I'm good, dude. There's a dispensary down the street. He's like, you can grab like a pound. I was like, I don't even smoke a pound of weed. Like, do you know how long it would take me to smoke a pound of weed? That's insane.
Yeah, when I hear these rappers who are smoking like an ounce a day,
yeah,
like how do you have any room left in your lungs?
I mean, honestly, dude, I'm convinced. So like when I smoke weed, I get high, right? Like you give me 2 puffs of a joint and I'm noticeably feeling different.
Yeah.
Like I know people who just smoke blunts and they're like, "You want to roll another one?" I'm like, what are you talking about? Do you want to roll another one? I want to go to bed.
Those are the people that have maxed out the drug.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Like those are the people where it becomes like a real gateway drug. So time to start smoking mushrooms, I guess.
Zoomies. I'm a big fan of shrooms.
So you were talking you haven't done pain pills. We can cut this if you're too sensitive to talk about it.
Yeah.
But they didn't put you on any heavy pain meds when you got your hair done?
No. So they initially, so all they did was.
Well, let's walk me through that, because I think
start to finish. I decided to go with the.
I think that I'm genuinely curious about what the Turkish hair transplant experience is like.
So it all starts. So like most things, it starts with solicitation. Like I think I mentioned it a few times, and suddenly my Instagram is blowing up. Every other ad is hair transplant, Turkey.
You thought it in your head once, and then it was in your phone.
It was just in my phone. It was in my phone. It was like Inception. So after like a few of those things, for the longest time, I was using a derma-roll, like a micro needle, and minoxidil. And the results were pretty good.
Okay.
But it was just constant work. Like I was doing it 3-4 times a week, doing minoxidil like I think 2-3 times a month. That was a recommended thing.
And that's the chemical in Rogaine.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, and the microneedles, because I've seen people use. What does the microneedle do? Because I've seen like women use it on their faces and stuff like that. And then I've also seen people get like crazy acne as a result because I guess they didn't clean it well, and they just infected their whole faces.
So they come in a bunch of sizes, but I remember when I was doing it, like they say you're not supposed to go above, I think like 1 millimeter. So I was using like 0.5, and so. When people use it on their skin, they're usually like 0.25 millimeters, just something very light. And what it's supposed to do is it penetrates the skin, and when the skin starts to heal, it like regenerates your skin that eventually gets rid of scars.
So it's almost like acupuncture.
Exactly.
In a sense, it's like you're drawing your body's attention to this area.
Yeah. So when you're doing it on your hair, you're essentially just opening up the pores so the minoxidil goes in. I did that for like, I think maybe like 4 or 5 months. Got a pretty good, pretty good hairline. Hairline was coming back. Like I had a pretty bad, like I know you can't see it right now, but like my shit was pushed back.
Yeah,
it was pushed back like pretty far. And so like initially I just shaved my head, but I have a really small head. I feel like to have you need a bigger sized head to shave your head. I don't know why. I just feel like I look weird with a shaved head.
I mean, you cannot look weirder than me. Like that's just.
It's also head shape. You don't have the shape of like a bald head, right? Like, I feel like it would look weird on you. Like it would look like, man,
I'm too pale, man. Like if I shave my head, I'm making a statement.
Yeah, we're joining a club.
Yeah. Actually, can I talk? We'll take a slight detour today. My brother called me today. He lives in Hamilton, and
that's where I'm from. I actually just grabbed a couple of t-shirts from a skate shop that used to be in Hamilton. That's why I came a little late. But yeah,
so he was telling me that he ran into an old friend who showed him this tattoo of Alf fucking Garfield. And
who puts that on their body? Like, what are you doing?
yeah, apparently this guy's got a lot of like crazy tattoos.
Nah,
And then
fuck.
and then he's also like, speaking of joining clubs, and in a debt collector for like a biker gang.
Oh shit.
And so he was telling my brother this story about how he was like chasing this dude for the money, and the guy like left his house, and so the guy went into his fish tank and fried up the guy's fishes to send them the message about getting the money.
What the fuck? What do you even call that? It's like the opposite of like Luca Brasi.
I have no idea. It's like, it's so funny.
That's so fucked.
My brother knows all the
Hamilton's got some
craziest people.
characters,
Yeah,
dude.
I
Hamilton's
said,
got
how
some
come I
characters.
can't meet people like this? My stand-up could use it.
Yeah.
And he's just like, dude, it's just Hamilton.
It's just Hamilton.
Hamilton
dude.
just produces these people.
Like,
Okay.
Hamilton's the first city I moved to when I moved here from South Africa. We started in Hamilton.
Oh.
But like, we'll jump on the hair transplant. So hair transplant, I'm doing the minoxidil for a while. I finally just decide, fuck it, because Instagram is literally just inundating me with like, hey, are you sure you don't want to do it? Are you sure you don't want to do it? I started looking at prices in Canada, and I think the cheapest one I found was like 7-8 grand.
Okay.
So then in Turkey, the whole thing, flight included, was 3,500 US dollars. So it was like 4,200 flight and everything.
Yeah.
And so the whole trip cost me $5 grand. I ended up staying an extra night because what happens is you fly out on Friday, your surgery is on Sunday.
Yeah.
They have someone come and pick you up. It's like very well catered. Like they have someone come and pick you up. He's your translator for the weekend. They drop you off at the hotel.
Oh, wow.
He tells you, I'm going to come pick you up on Sunday morning. And then you're supposed to fly out on Monday. So obviously, first thing they tell you is don't drink 48 hours before the trip. Me, I'm in Turkey. I get absolutely hammered.
Yes.
Hammered the first night, hammered the second night. The second night, I meet these nomads. A couple of them were actually from Canada, but they meet in Turkey. No, they meet in a different country every 6 months, and they just happen to be meeting in Turkey.
Okay.
And so they're like, hey, have you ever tried acid? And at this point, I'd never tried acid.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, but I've been wanting to try it. So did a hit of acid the night before my trip. Barely slept. So I'm on the surgery bed, just bleeding. And so
Yeah.
So it's a full 8-hour procedure. You show up at 8. They shave your head.
Yeah. Sorry. Are you saying you did acid in Turkey?
Yeah. First time.
Like, I feel like that's like a life in prison sort of activity in Turkey.
Well, so Turkey kind of has two different sides, right? There's like the European side, which is like where alcohol,
Yeah.
and like, where essentially Western people can live comfortably. And
Okay.
then there's the more Islamic side where like that's where my hotel was. And I remember my first night, I was like, is there a bar nearby? They're like, no, do you want to go to the other side? Because there's not a bar within walking distance of here. So went to the other side the first night, came back the second night. And then, just like dropped acid with these strangers. It was very, very interesting. We ended up at this shisha bar. Ended up doing yoga. I was doing yoga in like a public park with these people who didn't know I was on acid, but I was, it was quite the experience.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot I did acid, and so I was messaging this girl a few days later. She's like, "So how did you like the acid experience?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You don't remember dropping acid with us at the bar before?" I was like, "No, I don't." But that explains why I remember doing yoga with these strangers because I was so into that. But yeah, so so the procedure, like how it is the first 4 hours, they're literally taking out hair follicles. So the procedure I got, there's like different types you can do, different hair follicle amounts you can pull out, and that's kind of what the cost is. So I think the lowest range was like 2,500 hair follicles, and I think that was like 2,500 US dollars. I got 3,500, so they literally do it for 4 hours. And like to speak to the painkillers, they would just give you some, I don't know what like the numbing needle is.
Okay, topical.
Yeah, right. So they obviously that should hurt, but they put the needle in, place goes numb, and then I can just hear them scraping to get to the bottom of the hair follicle and then pulling. So for about 4 hours, and obviously I was hungover as shit. I just did acid like 7 hours ago. So I get in, they shave my head, I go face down, and I'm just sleeping. Right.
Yeah.
I passed out for like the first hour. And then I wake up and I look beside me, and like the doctor seems kind of pissed because like there's a bin beside me with these like swabs that they were using to wipe the blood, and it's just full because there's so much alcohol in my body. And he's like, "Were you drinking last night?" I was like, "I might have had one or two." Like,
Derek.
So, so he was not happy about that because it just meant that I was bleeding way more than I should be because of my blood alcohol content. But yeah, so I'm laying there for 4 hours. They're pulling out individual hair follicles.
Yeah.
There's this little petri dish that they're putting them in, and so after 4 hours, I look at this petri dish with 35 little hair follicles of mine, and then they give you lunch. Like, all right, hair bandage. Here's lunch, right? So they feed you.
Yeah.
And then this second half was more painful than the first half.
That's when they're putting them in.
That's when they're putting them in. Yeah. And that was excruciating. Like, imagine 3,500. Like, that's like 4 hours. Just everyone's like,
yeah.
And you can feel everyone go in. And then and then they expect you to fly the next day. So I get back to my hotel. They give you this like it's all bandaged up and shit.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow to come and pick you up. I talked to my driver on the way back. I was like, I'm gonna book another night. I'm not getting on a plane tomorrow.
Yeah.
No chance. But the cool thing about Turkey, I go downstairs at this four-star Holiday Inn. I'm like, how much for one night? How much for one more night? They're like $40 US. I was like, what?
Baller.
Yeah. I was like, I'll live here. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Have you seen rent prices in Toronto right now? This is so much cheaper. So I stayed the extra night, and then got on the plane. They give you this pillow to sleep with, and you're essentially just told it's gonna be itchy. I remember I fucked up like a week after I got home. I sanitized my hands, and I forgot that I had hand sanitizer, and I went to touch the back of my head, dude. Oh, dude, the most pain I've ever been in. The most pain I've ever been in. They give you this shampoo, and then it's weird because the hair follicles go in, and you can kind of see them raised a little bit.
Yeah.
And after about a month, they just start falling out because I guess the follicles have gone into the skin, and now, now the hair that they put in on top doesn't necessarily need to stay there. That can fall out, and the hair starts to grow under it.
Okay.
And then they give you some shampoo, tell you to keep using minoxidil, and that was my turkey experience.
So what is because I remember hearing Rogan talk about how he got a hair transplant, but it didn't take because hair loss happens because of excess testosterone, right?
Yeah.
And so then basically if it's you're trying to replant in corrupted ground. So so how do they figure a way around that now?
Yeah, so I think I remember that Rogan interview. So hair transplants themselves have evolved a lot in the past 10 years. There's two different kinds. It's FUE and FFH. I don't remember what they stand for, but the new one is the FUE, and that's the one where they do now, where they're they're really kind of scraping the skin, getting to the bottom of the hair follicles, really pulling it out, and then I think they use this machine to kind of push it deeper into the scalp kind of thing. Okay. I don't think they were doing that before.
Okay.
I think they were just kind of putting it on top kind of thing and hoping it grows. So I think in terms of the procedure, but dude, it's so funny. When I was leaving Turkey, I'm at the airport in Istanbul.
Yeah.
Dude, just the entire line is a bunch of dudes
of all guys. Yeah.
Just, and dudes of all different skin colors, just so many people. Dude, hair plant capital of the world is not a joke because on the flight in, you don't really notice it. But when you're at departure and you're looking down the line, and it's just oh my God, we all came here for the same thing.
Yeah, all guys with bandages on their heads.
Yeah.
I mean, yours turned out great. I had no idea the whole, for the first, until you told me, I had no suspicion whatsoever because.
Suspicion.
It's suspicious.
It's a suspicious hairline.
My brother has a buddy who did the same thing, but they rebuilt his hairline way too forward for his age. So it looks unnatural.
Yeah. So that's one thing. When I was sitting down with them, we kind of mapped out. They're okay, what do you want? Where was your hair before? Initially, they wanted to bring it down to here, and I was like, that's Like that's where my forehead wrinkles are. Like no one's gonna believe my hairline's down there, right? So we decided to like keep it just kind of above where my face is, and yeah, like I think they did a great job with the line. I have to do a better job of like taking care of it. So right now, the only time you'll be able to notice I have a hair transplant is if I let my hair grow out too long, because the transplanted area doesn't grow as fast as the rest of the hair, right?
Okay.
And that's because I should have been doing minoxidil. I should have been doing shampoo, and I just kind of stopped. I was like, oh, it's fine. But then when I started growing my hair, I noticed I was like, oh shit, like why is this so light up here? And I was like, because you haven't been keeping up with it. But I'm getting better. I just bought 6 bottles of minoxidil. I got my micro needles. I'm getting back in the game.
Nice.
Getting back.
Getting back.
Because I want to grow my hair out a little bit. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
can maybe go for a fro, but that's just impossible right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is good hair for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Also, this length, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels good to not have that, like, widow's peak. Because, like, man, like, before this, my shit was getting pushed.
Oh, dude. I mean, like, I have the receding hairline, and I feel like I have to do 2 comb overs. I got to, like, swoop it over to make it look like a solid kind of line.
But yours, like, because your hair grows, right? Right? Like, your hair grows to, like, a decent length. So it's not like, right? Like, it's receding, but it's not, like, completely dying, right? Like, when you get the receding and it's just not growing,
I mean,
that's
dude,
what it looks like.
I was terrified because, like, I knew almost subconsciously that there was something going on because it started to go like this in my early 20s. And I was terrified it was all going. I was having dreams about going bald. And luckily it just seemed to stop here.
Did you ever try the bald look? Like, did you ever shave your head?
You know what? For a long time, I rocked a buzz cut. I was kind of like low. I was like a super low maintenance kind of dude, and I would just do it myself. As soon as it got to like it looked bad, I would just shave it myself.
Yeah.
I can't remember when I started actually believing in my own appearance. But for a long time, I shaved my head forever, almost all through my 20s.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I got married in a faux hawk.
No. Does your wife
I was quite
hate
the
your
rebel.
wedding pictures?
No, I mean, we were so young. It kind of goes with the whole theme.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you got married at like what, 24?
24.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah.
What was I doing at 24? I would have been just finishing. I think I moved to Toronto at 24. Yeah.
Okay.
2012 was that? I'm 32 now. No, 2012 would have been 10 years ago, right?
12
years ago. Yeah. Yeah. So I moved to Toronto when I was 20. So I was just getting into Toronto at 24, dude. I was still trying to find shit. I had not, right? Like you and your wife probably started dating when you were like in your teens, right?
I think we were 20. We dated for like a couple years before I think we dated for 2 years before we got engaged.
Nice. Even that's like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah. But again, that's that Christian culture,
yeah,
right?
Fair.
But I think also, I mean, I just found a good one.
Yeah, which is more important than how long you're dating them. It's is this the right person kind of thing, right?
Yeah, because I mean, sometimes you guys make me feel jealous with your, with your romps, but at the same time, I feel like it comes with a lot of hang-ups too.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of the dudes I know who are fuckboys, they all say they want to get married someday.
Dude.
Right?
It's the dream.
But I just don't know what the plan is, because my concern is that you're training yourself for variety, and then if the right girl does come along, because you know that you have all these options available through the apps, that you're not going to seriously consider them.
No, like I would say that, like I'd say right now I'm at a point in my life where if I meet the right person, I'm in that headspace where it's like, you know what, like I don't know, just kind of seeing, like my best friend got married this year, my brother got married this year, like the whole kind of culture. Every time I go hang out with people, first of all, there's no single girls around because everyone kind of brought their partner, right?
Yeah,
so you're just kind of there, kind of like, all right,
Yeah, okay.
Guess it's just me and that bunk bed in there. Which is funny because
you're at the kids' table.
I went to my buddy's cottage and he has some bunk beds, and then all the other rooms are like single mattresses, and I'm the only single one, so it's just me in this bunk bed room. And I'm like, oh fuck, eh? I gotta find a girl so I can at least audition for one of the single beds.
Yes. You weren't even a candidate for a good bed.
Not even a candidate, dude. But yeah, no, like definitely, like I feel like my last couple relationships have been getting pretty serious.
Well, you got out of a fairly big one. Was it this year?
Yeah. Well, like last year, but within the past year.
In a year. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, just wasn't the right one, I guess. Also, I feel like me at the time was just like moving around way too much. Like not like sleeping with other girls, but just like had so much going on.
Yeah.
And like every time I get out of a relationship, it's for the same reason. It starts to feel like an obligation. And I'm like, fuck that. I don't want this job anymore. I just quit.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
But I feel like now kind of being single, because this time around being single isn't like last time around being single, right? Like last time around being single, I felt like, okay, I'm out on the field.
Back.
This time I'm like, oh fuck, I'm back here, dude. I gotta get back in a relationship. But yeah, no, like it's but like you said, like if you meet the right person, it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think that if you're single for a long time, you get conditioned to it to the point where you're like, you know, like you find yourself in a relationship and your eyes wandering so much that that's why you get out of it. Like I find most times when I want to get out of a relationship, it's because it just starts to feel like an obligation, right? Like I've other things I want to focus on, and this relationship isn't my primary focus right
because
now.
I mean, at some point, like if you have a spouse, they are an obligation.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yes. Which is
but
why
I guess,
I'm single.
Yeah, but I guess it's like a happy obligation. It's the person
exactly,
you want
right?
to be there for. But yeah, I have you ever just been like dated a girl and been like really quickly like, nah?
Like I wouldn't say. Okay, so dating is like a weird word, right? Because when I think of dating, it's like girls I dated, I met their parents, they met my parents. Like that's a chick I'm dating. If I'm hooking up with a girl, I don't care if it's for 4 months. If you haven't met my family, we weren't really dating. We were just kind of like hooking up. I don't know. Like, to me, like dating involves a higher level of intimacy and like interpersonal.
What is so if it's physical only, is there a term for that?
You're fucking. That's like, you know what I mean? Like, what else are you doing? Like, we're fucking and we're eating together. That's it. Where do you want to eat? Where do you want to fuck? Are we fucking at your house? Are we eating at your house? Are we fucking at my house? Are we eating outside?
Is there like TV watching involved?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, like these. Like to me, that's seeing someone, right? Like I've started seeing someone and then immediately been like, I'm out. But I have to be seeing someone for a while before we start dating, and then like by the time we start dating, like that would be a hard turn for me to be seeing you for like a few weeks, and then we start dating, and then I'm like, Jesus Christ, how did I miss this? I'm getting out. So
yeah,
it's very kind of interesting difference. But I always find it funny because you hear about celebrities that were like dating. Oh, they dated for a bit. I'm like, were they dating or were they fucking each other for a couple of weeks and you guys caught some pictures? You know?
Yeah.
There's a difference.
How does somebody from South Africa end up in Hamilton? And did you notice a difference when you got off the plane?
Yeah. So I moved here in February. So yes, major difference from Africa to Canada in February.
If you got to Hamilton in the summer, you might not think that you went anywhere.
Exactly. I mean, minus all the weird talking people and the high number of whites.
Yes.
Although South Africa does have a high number of white people, but I feel like I'd look around and be like, they definitely got rid of some black people in Africa because this is a lot
I mean,
of
like
whites.
I don't know a ton. I know that there was like an apartheid state. I don't know a ton about Here's you want to know the things I know about South Africa.
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. Large number of Jewish people.
Yeah. It's because of the diamonds.
Diamonds?
Yeah. Really? I forgot the name of the company, but one of the largest diamond manufacturers was set up in South Africa by a very large wealthy Jewish family, and it's just a huge diamond mining culture there.
I grew up in Thornhill, which is like a very predominantly Jewish neighborhood outside of Toronto, and I just noticed a lot of them were from South Africa. I didn't know what the connection was. I just knew that was part of it.
I think it's Dubois.
Here's what else I know. I know, apartheid state, violent, rape capital of the world.
I didn't know that, but represent.
And and great white sharks.
Yes. So those are the top three. I'd take rape capital out of there if I was pitching it myself. But yeah, I'd say those are kind of the top three. I mean, since then the country's kind of obviously turned around a lot. I think the apartheid had a lot to do with the violence that came after it. Dave Chappelle talks about how we had a bloodless kind of transition from like being an apartheid state to essentially becoming a democratic state. But I think the oppression, like when you oppress people for that long in their own country, things don't change overnight, right?
No.
So I feel like there was definitely still a lot of class warfare that had a lot of racial undertones to it, which which resulted in a lot of the crime that came. And I remember when we lived in South Africa, my brother got like chased by these guys who wanted to rob him. And like I'm in the backyard just kind of sitting there hanging out. I hear a rustling in the bushes. I walk over there, and my brother's hiding down, crouching low, and these dudes stand over, point a gun inside, see me, and just kind of get spooked because I guess they realized that like maybe other people were there, and they just kind of ran off. But very, very, very troubling.
Yeah, that's scary.
The least. But it's weird. Like I don't really remember the violence other than that.
How old were you when you came here?
11.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
so
that's it's
makes
good
sense,
age,
right?
Yeah.
And we were very sheltered. We were kind of like upper middle class. Like I went to a private school.
Yeah.
Kind of like most of my friends were white in South Africa.
Yeah.
So that didn't change when I moved here.
I
was like, this I'm used to, And I also did a lot of like white adjacent things. Like I surfed, I snowboarded. Not snowboarded. Like skateboarded.
Yeah.
Right? Like I started skateboarding when I was 9. So when I moved here, it was kind of how I like integrated into society was through skateboarding.
Yeah.
I remember my brother and I like second night in Canada, we leave the house. We're like, okay, we're gonna go find this skate shop. We find out it's called DMBC, which is a shirt that I posted on my story today. It's the skate shop that was in South Africa, that was in Hamilton from 96 to 2006. So we're walking around Hamilton. We're walking up Hess Street because it was on Hess Street, and we asked this couple like, hey, do you know where DMBC is? And they thought we meant the embassy. And so they look at us and they go, you're in Canada. There's no Canadian embassy here. And we're like, okay. But then we did eventually find the store like that day. And that's kind of how we met a lot of the people we first started hanging out with when we moved here was through skateboarding.
Yeah. What was the motivation for your family to come here?
So my dad was initially from, well, like I guess my dad, like we were all initially from Zaire. We moved down there when I was like 1. My dad met this priest who actually helped move my whole family down there, and then also got us a visa to move to Canada. The motivation was we couldn't get citizenship in South Africa, which kind of limited our job opportunities and everything else. So
is Zaire called something else now?
Yeah. Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC.
That's right. Okay, because I was like
Zaire. I mean, like, I still say Zaire because that's the country I was born in. Yeah. Right. I wasn't born in DRC.
Yeah, it's like you're Bombay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's why we moved out here. Just the classic for a better life story. But my dad had a bunch of connections. Like he moved out here because he worked at the university in Natal before. So when we moved here, he started working at the university in Guelph, I believe.
Okay.
So kind of just a transition, but it was mainly because we couldn't get citizenship in South Africa because South Africa is very xenophobic, right?
Yeah.
Particularly towards other African countries.
Mm-hmm.
Because to them it's like, hey, we have our own problems. Why are we taking in all of these refugees from other countries who were not that much better than?
Yeah.
So to them it's like, wait, like why are these Congolese here trying to get citizenship, taking our jobs? It's very, very much, gets Republican really quick.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. That's really funny. How did you find like integrating into Canada?
It was honestly seamless for the most part.
Yeah, I suppose if you were going to like a private school and And South Africa is an English-speaking country.
Yeah, exactly right. So I got here. I already spoke the language. I had interests that kind of aligned me with certain people in school. Like I found the people who like who skateboarded and did all that extreme stuff. So, and then like there's always just the just the just the interest of being someone from somewhere else. And I'm a very social person, so it's not like I shied away from it. People be like, "Oh, you're the new kid from Africa." I'd be like, "Fuck yeah, ask me anything," kind of thing. And yeah, just kind of integrated very seamlessly. Like made friends super quick, and yeah, like a lot of friends I'm still friends with to this day from like my first month since I moved here.
Yeah. What did you end up studying?
But like after school?
Yeah.
Yeah. So after school, I went to Carleton for psychology. And then I came to Toronto and I got a business degree.
Oh, so you have 2 degrees, or did you get a master's?
No, I got the psych degree, and then so 2 different degrees.
You got 2 BAs. Okay.
Yeah. And then now I do stand-up comedy.
I know, what a good use of it. I know, what are you like outside of comedy? Like, what are you into?
Outside of comedy, I would say sports. I'm a big sports guy.
Yeah. What's your sport?
My sport of choice these days, I would have to.
I was really hoping you'd choose something we could like bond over. By the way,
fishing. Are you a big fishing guy? Actually, you know what? Fishing is something that my my friend got me into in the past couple of years, and I got to tell you, first time I went fishing, I was just unimpressed. I was like, man, like what are we doing here? And then you catch a couple fish. And suddenly the wait for the next fish doesn't feel so boring.
I don't know,
but the
man.
wait for that first fish.
I've been unimpressed with fishing for 40 years.
I thought we were going to bond on that.
Oh, we can talk about fishing. We get more so than sports, because my dad would like make me go fishing with him, and I hated it. I just felt like we're just sitting here.
That's how I felt at first, but then I don't know, man. There's something to be said for like the kind of peace and quiet. Like I feel like you almost have to.
You don't need to catch a fish to get away from women. Like I just,
I mean, like I've gone fishing. Actually, no, I've never gone fishing with a girl ever in my life. Never even seen one out on the water.
That's why it exists, because fish are slimy. They're
fish. Yeah, I mean,
Although you want to hear?
I don't really touch fish.
My daughter went fishing for the first time I think it was last summer or the summer before, and she caught a fish on her very first cast.
No way.
Like if she stopped fishing after that, it would be 100% record.
Like, does she love fishing now, or she's just still kind of unimpressed? She's like, whatever.
I think like it's not something they'll ask to do, but if we're near water and my father-in-law has like fishing rods for everybody, they're in.
Yeah.
So they're not opposed.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also really cool to be like, first time I threw my rod in the water, pulled out a fish.
Yeah, pulled out a perch, no problem.
That's impressive. I remember first time I went fishing, I did not catch anything. And I also do very bad around like worms and animals. So still to this day, I'm yet to unhook my own fish.
Oh, like, you're not a real man.
Very much a bitch on the water.
Oh man, yeah. When my kids were fishing that one time, like last year or whatever. Yeah, I struggled like.
Oh God! Dude.
Oh God! Like,
you should see. I think there's a picture of me on Instagram holding up this fish, but I'm holding it by the side because I can't put my thumb.
You don't even want to put your thumb in its mouth.
No,
right?
No.
Honestly, it is a weird sensation.
But
it doesn't hurt.
No,
it's just weird.
It's just weird. Yeah, right. Like even hooking the worms, that took me a little bit to get used to that. I hook my own worms now.
Okay, good.
Not that bad, but yeah, no, like I've still never unhooked. I catch the fish, I give it to my buddy, he unhooks it. I hold the side of it, take a quick picture, and then throw it into the water really quick.
On my, I think it was TikTok feed, somebody making flies like popped up in my feed, and I was like, "This is arts and crafts for men." Right? It's just decorating a hook.
Yeah, like you also look at how like they come, like the little boxes. Like it almost looks like a coloring piece with all the different colors of the flies and everything in there. It's like, ooh, this is gonna be a fun day of arts and crafts.
Yeah. What? Pike love orange.
Yeah.
right? Like I don't know. I don't know how it works.
I don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah, my dad had like a really big manly tackle box, and like mine was like this and had like Jason and bubble letters
tackle
sticker.
box. That's the word I was looking for.
Tackle box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just call it a pencil case.
Yeah, it's like a toolbox just for your fishing stuff.
Yeah, for like the lures, right? That's what those little shiny things are called, the lures.
Yeah, the lure. Fly fishing is like you're making your own lures with like pieces of fabric and hair and stuff.
Oh shit!
To like try to trick the fish. Yeah, you haven't seen like fly fishing.
I haven't seen. I mean, I guess I've probably seen it.
It's like fly fishing are the guys like standing in those rubber pants in the middle of the river with those really long rods. You know,
they just kind of whip them.
Yeah, that's fly fishing.
What's it like? Why fly fish when you can regular fish? Is because you don't have a boat?
I think you're. I have no idea.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Like
maybe that's the advanced.
Yeah,
you know, it's the half pipe of fishing.
We went ice fishing. I don't know if you've ever been ice fishing.
I have been ice fishing. Yes. Now you get to be bored and cold.
Yeah, ice fishing was tough for me.
Were you in the shed or just out on the ice?
No. My buddy had a shed and he had a heater. So, but I mean, still though, you're in -degree weather. We're up on Lake Simcoe. And it was cool because we were drinking. That was it.
Yeah.
Like if we weren't drinking out of that ice, I would have shot myself.
Yeah. I think it's like the things that we came up with when weed was illegal.
Yeah.
Just
pretty sure
to like get away and do nothing.
Pretty sure we went a bunch during the pandemic too, and it was just like, where can we go where there's no people?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like we're not gonna get a ticket for not being 6 feet apart. The pandemic, what a time, dude. That
honestly, just I watched today again because I am addicted to my phone. A video of like the ball dropping on New Year's Eve in 2002 versus the one this year, and just how different everyone is. Like in 2002, everybody's kissing, everybody's celebrating, everybody's going crazy. So life is great. And then it's this one, and it's just a bunch of people still like 2024. It's people standing around, and then it's like nobody's doing anything. And like then they zoom to, I don't know if you saw the 2 guys kissing, and then and everybody just looks like like I don't know. The pandemic broke us.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that I know for sure. The pandemic, like it's just different now, man. Like there's a lot of stuff that wasn't happening before the pandemic that I see happening now that I'm like this, this is kind of odd.
Were you doing comedy pre-pandemic?
Yes, but like very like I was more interested in comedy and getting on stage at times. Like I think I did my first ever major show in like 2017, 2018, and then just kind of like fizzled out for a year or two.
Yeah. What do you mean by major show? Did you do like Second City?
No. Like I produced the show. I remember I produced a show in Hamilton at the Baltimore House. And like I was maybe like 5-6 months into comedy, just kind of still had that kind of new comic allure. Like now I ask my friends to come to a show, they're like, is it gonna be on TV? I'm like, no. They're like, all right, we'll see. But during that like first year when it's still new, everyone's like, man, I gotta come see you. So we ended up renting out this venue and we did really well. I think I put out like 50 seats and like 70 people showed up. So it was like standing room only in the back. Can't remember who was on it. I think Che Duranta was on it.
Okay.
Joey Harlan was on it. I can't remember who else, but it was like a couple of comics that I just kind of seen around, and I was like, hey, do you want to do my show? I think you guys are pretty funny, and it went super well. That's what I mean by like my first major show.
Yeah,
I feel like earlier on too, I was like I drove up to Kingston to do Yucks, drove up to Ottawa to do Yucks, just kind of off of like their phone thing where it's like 10 a.m. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they do it anymore, but back in the day, it used to be you sat beside your phone at 10 a.m. and you just called. Busy line, pick up, call again, and you're calling for 30 minutes at least.
Just to do 5 minutes.
Just to do 5 minutes, yeah. Just to do a 5-minute free spot on amateur night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the email. It's shocking they didn't adopt an email system sooner.
Yeah, right. Email's been around forever.
I know. It's one of the first things.
Yeah. No, that is shocking. I haven't reached out to them in a while. I probably should, but yeah.
We were talking at whose birthday was it? Steve Appleyard's birthday.
Yes.
And you were saying that was it your dad who met this? Tell me about this priest guy.
Yes.
That like helped move your family out of Zaire.
Father Frank Duffy, nothing short of a saint. Kind of met my dad. Met my dad when my dad first moved there. There's a lot of iterations of the story, but from what I initially heard, like my dad.
Sorry, did you say I met my dad?
No. He met my dad.
Okay, he met your dad.
So he met my dad probably within 2 weeks of my dad moving to South Africa.
Okay.
I think my dad was just kind of either like in between places or like homeless at the time, but not like homeless on the street, just kind of like looking for a place, maybe like a night or two where he can't find a place. And the story goes, father meets my dad, moves my dad into like the priest residency, and then helps my dad through university, helps my family move there. And so we grew up very Catholic. So I would spend every summer at father's place. So he lived in Durban.
Yeah.
We lived in Pietermaritzburg, and that's kind of like Hamilton and Toronto kind of thing.
Okay.
Where like not just in terms of distance, but in terms of like the cooler city. Right?
Yes. Okay.
Right. Like you go to visit Durban, and then you have to go back to Pietermaritzburg.
Okay.
So every summer, me and my brothers would spend it essentially living at the church with him. It was kind of our like summer home, for lack of a better term. And so, yeah, so we lived with him, or like we lived in South Africa, of course, sort of associated with him for just about 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was connected to one of the nuns, or like one of the like admin people at the Cathedral Basilica in Hamilton, that big cathedral when you're getting on the highway.
Yeah.
So
the big old looking church.
Yeah. So that's kind of like and so he kind of hooked us up with someone there. They sponsored our visas, and then on February 6th we moved here.
Oh, and what year was this?
2003.
2003. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what was your perception of like the church, Catholic Church, when you were
growing up? Like I'd say up until like, when did we stop going to church, or when did I stop going to church? I guess I probably stopped going to church when I left for school and it was no longer an obligation of my parents, right? Like I never really gained my own faith, right?
Yeah.
It was always kind of like I was a plus one.
Yeah. So this is something that my family does that you do out of obligation. But did you resent it?
Never resented it. But I'd say once I started studying it more, I definitely found it a little bit hypocritical. Never really reached a point of resentment, just kind of got to the whole eye-rolling stage of it. Like, really? Really? Like, you're going to judge?
So what research did you do? And what did you find?
Well, like, just kind of, like, I mean, like, I'm not going to act like I was spending 40 hours at the library, but just, just the whole stuff with the priest, for one. Like, that's something that really rubbed me the wrong way.
Were you in the Catholic Church when that all happened? Like when the Boston Globe really broke that?
No, definitely not.
You were already out.
I'd say I was already out at that point. Like, I'd say before, when I was going to church, I didn't know about any of that stuff. Put it that way. So I'd say like maybe grade 9, grade 10. By the time I got to grade 11, by the time we lived in Ottawa, I wasn't going to church anymore.
Okay.
So I'd say grade 11 was kind of when I stopped going to church, like 16, 15, 16 kind of thing. And then I didn't really find out anything. Didn't really find out about that stuff probably until I went to university.
Okay. So you were already even priest abuse stuff. You were already out. So
I wouldn't say out. I was just like, I was never super religious, even when I was going to church.
Did you have a concept of, like, were you an atheist in your head, or were you?
No,
did you have your own kind of spiritual concepts?
No, I was just kind of,
or apathetic.
apathetic is a perfect word. I was just kind of like, to me, it was something that was routine. It was like, okay, we're going to church. I never really thought of like original sin or thought of like heaven or hell. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't really judging the consequences of my life or my faith at all. At all. To me, it was just kind of something that was there.
Yeah.
And then and then when it came time, like it's my apologies.
Yeah, no problem. It's dry. It's dry these days.
It is. And then when it came time to kind of, like you get older, you start having conversations with people about like, okay, like what do you believe? Like, what are your thoughts, kind of thing. That's when I realized I was just kind of like, yeah, and like I would call myself agnostic.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I wanted to go next is like, because when we were chatting a few months ago about getting better at comedy and living more purposefully, and you had sent me, what was it? There was like the red
encoding divine rays.
That's right. Tell me about that. Encoding the divine rays.
Yes. So I would say probably around 2016, 2017, I got really into like, for lack of a better word, the cosmos. I hate that.
Does that mean like New Age?
I honestly don't know what it means, but for lack of a better term, I would say just kind of this like belief in one as being like a universal concept, where it's just like essentially just like energies flowing, like not really attributing stuff to a higher power, or it's just very hard to explain. Very hard to explain. But it's funny, like if you listen to one of those, like to one of those videos, they do talk a lot about like God and like the mouth of God, but I don't think it's in the sense of a superior being. I think it's God using a concept of like an entity, almost like something that exists in like multiple forms. Very hard to articulate, I must say.
I really like the term source, like the like if you say entity, but like a being that undergirds our reality.
Yes.
That's kind of like what I like to think of it as like a really bare bones kind of description.
And I think that's kind of where I've ended up. Like I do believe in a source, a sort of core energy that exists in the universe that drives life and kind of has this organizing kind of, not responsibility, but ability to kind of move things and make sure that things are aligning, like karma and different things like that. Like the energy put out is the energy.
I think karma is bullshit.
I mean,
I think that karma, like, it's the,
in the sense of,
you'll get your comeuppance one day, bad guy. And I feel like a lot of the bad guys, that never happens.
So in that sense, I would say karma is bullshit. But I do believe in some sort of karmic balancing of energy, right? Like I think that things kind of balance themselves out one way or another.
Yeah. There's like a yin yang.
Yeah, right. Kind of that kind of. But it is all very, like you said, it's like I don't know if spiritual is the right word for it, but spiritual is probably the closest thing that I would be able to find. It's all very like undefinable.
What is it about the Christian message that you find deficient? Because if it wasn't, because most people leave church because somebody wronged them.
Yeah,
that seems to be the big thing. Somebody wronged them, or there's the abuse scandals or something like that, and then it's some sort of external thing. It's very rarely that I speak to somebody who was going to church who left because like I don't think this is rational or something like that. Most of the time, it's somebody who gets hurt.
Yeah. So for me, it wasn't just it wasn't just Christianity. It was religion as a whole. The concept of circumventing your individuality for a higher power just never sat right with me, and a lot of it had to do with just like day-to-day behavior, right? It's like I want to do this, but because this book says it's not cool, I can't, right? Like I don't need a book to tell me that killing someone is wrong. You know what I mean? So a lot of it just kind of seemed like it was more controlling than anything. I look at and it's not just Christianity, right? Like when I stopped being religious, towards Christianity, I looked at some of the other stuff. I was like, you know, I want to do this, or I want to do that. I was like, maybe I don't need anything. Maybe I can just decide not to kill people because I think killing people is bad. And I know it seems almost, you know.
Well, I think that like the Christian counter argument to that would be the only reason that you think that killing people is wrong is because you've lived in Western countries, and the underlying philosophical principles of the West is the Bible. So like, because there are places where they don't necessarily value human life.
I mean, so with that said, I think this happens a lot with people on the West. Like, God exists in every religion, and I don't think there's any religion where you read a book and it says killing people is okay. I think there are ways that you can read any religion that you might find a chapter. You know, like look at the whole killing gays thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, look at the KKK. The KKK used to walk around with a cross, like they were ordained by God to go around lynching black people. So
Yeah.
I don't think, right? Like, I think it's very Western to look at it like that. I think at the end of the day, if you go anywhere in the world, you'll find that people value people, and the people that don't value people are more indoctrinated in the dogma of religion than they are actually focused on the belief in a higher power.
Yeah, well, it's religion is a team that really it binds people and unites people, and it could be for a good thing or bad things.
Yeah, 100%,
right.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember where this came from, but I remember hearing like diversity is only a strength when it's applied to common purpose.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, it's just division. It's just different people. But then when you have things like a church or the military or a business, then that's when people are dedicated to a single thing, then that's what it's very unifying when it has purpose.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then when you add like hate and oppression and you know the reason we're like this is because of them.
Yeah.
Right. And then
like I'd say that was kind of my biggest issue with religion is, and I guess it's just kind of like my optics. I chose to kind of see the bad, right? Because I mean, every religion has a murderous history.
Yes.
Every single one. So I guess I just kind of looked at all this history, all this murder, and I just found it a little bit hypocritical for anyone to now stand on, but we're the right one. It just kind of seemed like, like to me, a lot of it just came down to individuality, right?
Yeah.
I just didn't like. I felt like any religion asked you to circumvent your individuality, and that's something I was never willing to do.
Yeah. And is there anything like specific that you mean by that?
I mean, something as simple as, you know, like how people use the Bible to try to say that, you know, oh, being gay is wrong. Like, look, I don't care what the Bible says, but if it's your Bible, keep it in your house. You know what I mean? Don't go out on the street and tell people how to live just because you read a book.
Yeah.
That's kind of my approach, right?
You don't see it as authoritative enough.
No, not even enough. I don't see it as authoritative a little.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
Right? Like there's no authority in it.
Yes. Okay.
You know what I mean? It's there used to be authority in it, and that was called the Knights Templar and all those people, and they went around just murdering people for no reason, right? So I mean, like not for no reason, but because they had the authority ordained by God or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think now, like, hey, like if you want to believe this and you want to preach it to your kids, and that's how you decide that you know you guys are one big unit, and you know that makes you happy, that's perfectly fine. But the minute it starts to give you the audacity to think that you can judge other people by how they're living, it's just, you know what I mean? Like to me, as long as you're not hurting other people and you're not like hurting yourself or like doing damage to the world, I don't really care what you do.
Yeah.
Go do what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
I feel like religion doesn't have that chapter.
Yeah, the do whatever you want.
Yeah. No, it doesn't have that chapter. It's not in the book.
Yeah, I mean, well, it almost has the Jocko Willink kind of idea behind it, which is discipline equals freedom, in the sense of like the Bible is this roadmap for life that it's impossible to actually meet. That's the standard that it dictates for any person, right? But it's like the true north star for how you should be living your life, even if it is impossible.
Yeah.
I lost where I was going with that.
True north star.
Like
discipline.
Well, yeah. Sorry. So discipline. So it's like it's it's giving you wisdom, like, hey, some of these things will hurt you.
Yeah.
Right. Like these are the things that kind of break societies. But yeah, at the same time, it's like also has talking snakes.
Yeah. Right. So, and that's another thing I never really was able to reconcile with religion is some of the stuff is just like, I mean, like, obviously they're meant to be parables, but a lot of people kind of read into stuff where it's like, like, is this a fable or is this something that like really happened? Right. Like,
Well, this is where I am, right? Because the Protestant evangelicalism is the champions of Bible literalism.
Oh, which
right?
is, to me, is the wildest thing you could do is take that book literally. Like,
well, I mean, or at least all parts of it, right?
Yeah.
So, for instance, the book of Job, Job isn't referenced by, or people talk about him, but there's no evidence that he existed historically.
Yeah.
Right. But, hardcore Christians will say that he has to have been a real person, even though it's got these stories of like the devil coming into God's throne room to like taunt him. Right. Like, who was there for that?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of it is who was there for that. That's what I think a lot of the times, like when I hear stories from the Bible, it's like, who told you that? Who wrote that? Right?
Yeah.
And, like obviously, like the four main books, I think it's Matthew, Peter, Luke,
the Gospels.
John. Yeah, right. Like the four Gospels. Those are that's telling the story of like Jesus's life and stuff.
Yeah.
So those are all pretty consistent. But you get into a lot of the other books, and it's like, this sounds like this could have been written by J.K. Rowling. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's the story of like Daniel, who's alive in a fire pit or not getting sleeping in a den of lions and things like that. So there's definitely some crazy stuff in there, and then that's kind of what's led to me being like, I don't know if I need to believe in these as literal historical events.
Yeah.
To extract the truth of them or the point of them.
Absolutely.
Right. And then apply those points. Yeah, man. So did you find, because when we were talking before, it seems like you had, so it sounds like you were like really aggressive towards religion, and then that you've kind of more softened lately.
I mean, I don't think I was ever, like, I'd say aggression, it wasn't the term, but I'd say there was definitely a point when I was distancing myself. Just kind of, just like honestly, a lot of it was less to do with what religion was doing to me and more to do with like what I saw and its impact on the world kind of thing. And I've always thought of religion as something that's great if you're using it right, but it's something that's really powerful to be used the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, every single religion, other than like Buddhism, they're just chilling.
I mean, people like to think that, but like feudal Buddhism was not kind.
Right, so that's the shit.
Right, like
that's the shit I would have read about. It would have been like, fuck that too.
Well, yeah, like the monks lived in basically the monks would live lavish lives, and the commoners were scum.
And therein lies my point about how,
and the fact that Buddha himself abandoned his wife and child to go be a guru, to go like follow his religious teachings. He was like a rich prince who had enlightenment and bailed on his family.
Oh shit!
Like, to me, that's not like a great start.
No, so that's not a great quality.
Yeah, like if like any sort of like spiritual movement where the guy who's leading is like, so I left my wife, started gaining weight,
and my kid, right. Like, that was just his way out. His wife started gaining weight, and he's like,
like, how does nobody like? I don't know what century Buddhism started. I know that it's pretty old, but it's just like, how did somebody who lived like 800 years ago manage to be fat?
Yeah, I mean, he was eating good. Well, being fat used to be like
it was the sign of wealth.
It was the shit. Yeah, it was the shit. Wasn't until Vogue got involved that we started looking. Like, I saw on Instagram the other day, they're like, they're looking at this plus size model. Yeah. And I swear to God, it's just like a regular chick you see every day. It's just like, I'm like, that's plus size? Like, holy shit.
I know. She was just slightly wide.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
I saw it, yeah. She's not even fat. She's just, thick.
She's not even wide, dude. She's just not curvy in the middle. You know what I mean? Like, instead of having like that curve, she's just a little bit on the outside. And they're like, this is plus size.
She slightly deviated from like supermodel standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, things have really changed.
That's like that's so. I mean, like, that's kind of you know, like to bring it back to religion, I feel like I've just always kind of seen it or like stepped away from it because of the damage it's done, and I also just never felt like it was doing anything for me.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean?
fair.
Like I was just kind of like, yo, like why am I not gonna, you know what I mean? Like why am I gonna waste time on Sunday? I got football to watch at 1:00. Like, where do you want me to be, right? And it's like, oh, come and you have to tithe. You have to give us money. I was like, wait, you want me to give up football Sunday and you want me to give you money? Did I say that word wrong? Is it teething?
It's tithe.
Teething's what children do.
Teething is when babies have their teeth coming in. When they bite your fingers.
Tithe.
I was just sitting there like, do I say something or do I just let just skate past this one?
We're not going to let that. We're not going to let that go to post production with you saying teething.
Oh man, yeah. What's going on with you in comedy? How's life in general, man?
Good, dude. Good. Like this year, like I really want to kind of focus on getting content out. You know,
yeah.
Like I've been working on this like web series kind of idea that I'm looking to kind of get into motion this year.
Okay.
And then Triracial, my comedy troupe, kind of taking a break right now. We do have a show next month.
Oh.
At SoCap. I wish I knew more. I'd plug it. But we're very much like we're still kind of getting the poster together and stuff. And then just like 2023 was a big year for me.
Yeah.
For comedy. Like we started Triracial. I think we did our first show October of 2022.
Okay.
And 2023 we did 4 different festivals and maybe like 5 shows. We did Montreal Sketch Fest, Toronto Sketch Fest, Fringe, so 3 different festivals. But like for just coming together, like I just met these dudes. Like, like not even a year before, and then we were doing festivals. Went on the East Coast tour with
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, with Jared and Kev and Laura, and that was super fun. And currently I'm on different parts of the tour with G.
Oh yeah.
G Gathika, so we're in Ottawa next weekend. So just honestly, like just really starting to realize that you really kind of have to create your own lane in a way. I think we talked about this as well. Where a lot of it is just, you know, like you can be DMing 6 different producers or you can just put on a show.
Yeah.
You know? And then there's everything that comes with it, dude. Like I was producing a show alone, Queen Street Hooligans, R.I.P.
Yeah, okay.
That was my baby. But it's constant work. You're like keeping up a list of people. You have people messaging you for spots and then not showing up. Messaging you at 6 p.m. when the show's at 8, and you're like,
come on.
All right, dude. Like, fuck. Like, I would have appreciated a message at 2, but now I guess I'll scramble. But
yeah,
it always works out, though. I don't know. It's fun, you know, just getting as much stage time as I can.
Yeah, it's never a dull moment.
Yeah.
There's always something to do.
Yes, yeah. I don't know, like, have you been doing a lot of mics? Like, I haven't been going to a lot of mics, but also haven't been writing, right? Like, I feel like the biggest thing with me and mics is I realized I was going to mics and I was doing my material, and I was like, why am I bringing my material to a room full of 6 comics?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you saw me at a pretty low point.
I remember post bomb.
Yeah, I had a bomb, and I was just in a rough spot and mental health wise, and then but I feel like I'm like on the way back up, and you know, I took a lot of December off.
Yeah,
I had like a few things booked and a few things come up, but for the most part, I did nothing, and then I got sick at Christmas. So we were talking earlier. You're like, how are your holidays? So I was sick over Christmas. But I always find like getting sick is always a good reset moment. I don't know why. And so, I feel kind of refreshed and recharged and like ready for 2024. And so I'm starting to write a little bit and starting to hit the mics and stuff like that. And I'm kind of telling myself I'm going to hit it and just, you know, do the new stuff and hope that tags come out and start to work on it. And then, you know, if nothing new is coming, just kind of reinvest in my existing material and see what I can add to it. And, yeah, man, I'm just full steam ahead. I haven't told a lot of people. I just found out I got approved for Thursdays and Sundays at Absolute.
Nice.
So I broke out of Pro-Am night.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Congrats.
yeah. So that's like
Absolute. Okay, I always get Absolute and Yaks. Absolute's down on
at Young and Egg.
At Young and Egg. Yeah, so that's not far from you either, right?
Oh yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And it's just such a great club. I love performing there.
I've
It
never
feels
done
like
that room before.
it feels like a good spot for me. I don't know why, but I feel very comfortable there. And just to be taken a little bit seriously by one of the real clubs is like such a relief and like such a big win.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I feel like I was grinding really hard in 2023. I felt like I was working really hard, hitting a lot of shows, and
I feel like your 2022 was legendary. Like I feel like for some reason when I was like I moved back to Toronto in June 2022, and I remember the 6 months leading up to it. I was like, "Who's this Jay Rainbow guy? And why is he everywhere, dude?
Yeah,
You're doing so many shows. You started what 2021?
Yeah, I started in May 2021. Like we were still technically locked down, and I started in backyards.
Yeah, fuck the backyard shows.
Yeah, I was like, Hate HUD and Janice's and Brett's and like just anywhere parks, like anywhere that I
in
could.
The city for those, and I don't know. Like, what'd you think of the park? Like the outdoor comedy scene.
You know what? It was like I feel very fortunate actually to have been there for that time in Toronto comedy because I was essentially there for the reset.
Yeah.
Because I was doing backyard shows with people who were like writing on TV or had like been on Just for Laughs, and so and being not bad at comedy kind of helps. But I think I managed to be there and get my foot in the door when things were kind of restarting. And so when real shows started to happen, one, I had a ton of open mics under my belt already, and I had made a lot of connections. So I was already in the mix when things started to really pick up again. And it seemed as though that the deck kind of got reshuffled. So like people who were more established pre-pandemic, whatever the scene was like pre-pandemic.
Oh, it's so different.
Out the window.
Out the window. Yeah.
Out the window.
100%,
you know, so they're touring headliners. Well, now you're a local headliner, right? Or you were, or people who had a lot of momentum. Pandemic put them back to zero, right? And so, and I'm not, I feel bad for anybody who that happened to, but for me, 100%. I was just in the mix to get started, and like I hit the ground running hard.
Nice,
and I think I managed to kind of like establish a place. Like, by no means am I the best comic or the comic that I would like to be. But I'm not unhappy with where I am, but I was when I was feeling down. I was like, nobody's taking.
I was like, I've never seen Jay like this just despondent before, like ever. Like you were just very down.
Yeah, and it was I don't know. I always feel like I'm always just coasting above depression. Like it's like, and so and sometimes you take it.
Surprised how many people are in that boat with you, buddy.
Yeah, just sometimes. Well, it's not just me. I've been talking to people, and a lot of people seem to feel like December was really hard. Like mental health wise, December was a really hard month, and I'm finding out that I wasn't the only one. Like I've heard rumors of people who like are thinking of quitting, and yeah, it's been really tough. But I think in having those conversations, I just feel more emboldened. Be like, I gotta just get back to work, right? Like I'm going back to all these like just little sound bites of advice, like stop chasing opportunities because your jokes are your opportunities, and just like stop feeling right, like stop feeling sorry for myself and just get to work.
I think that's kind of what my approach coming into this year is like my whole thing during December particularly, and I think we talked about it as well. Like, I just kind of want to take a step back. I hadn't written in so long because I was spending so much time on triracial during the summer that by the time the fall came around, I like didn't really have a lot of new material. Like I maybe had like 3-4 jokes, and I was working so much that it was like, okay, like I'm showing up to these mics, but I'm doing my same material that I know if I'm booked on a show and I'm like headlining or I'm like middling, these jokes will do well.
Yeah.
But 6 dudes on a Tuesday, right? Like why am I going out to bomb jokes that I know are already good when I could be? So I just kind of like step back, but now
and I don't think that that's necessarily bad. Like I think that
I mean, like for punch ups, yeah,
yeah,
but a lot of the times I wasn't even punching up, like because
yeah.
I just wasn't showing up prepared.
And you already had your open mic, which was your opportunity to
yeah,
kind of like work having no material,
yeah,
which is kind of why I'm stepping away from like my mic. Like I'm just gonna maybe do it like once every few weeks or something like that instead of every week. Because
yeah. Like I'm kind of doing the opposite right now. I'm getting back into my mic. I mean, I wrote a lot over the holidays. I
okay,
have a
that's
bunch
good.
of stuff that I just kind of want to throw on the wall to see if it sticks. So I think I'm going to be hosting the next 2 Parkdale comedies.
Okay,
Definitely this week because I know Aiden's out of town, and then next week. Next week we have like a mostly Hamilton lineup that I'm pretty excited for.
oh that's cool.
Yeah, so just kind of just getting back out there, and then I think the biggest thing for me that I really kind of want to do with comedy this year is get more involved in like the scene, for lack of a better word. Like I feel like I'm like I'm a comic, but I don't really do. They don't really hang out with comics, right?
I don't think you need to do that.
No,
No.
I mean, so the reason I've been thinking more about it is because I think it does kind of lead to more opportunities because people see you out more. You know what I mean? Just like from all the new comics who I know are relatively new, but you constantly just see them everywhere.
Yeah.
They seem to be getting more shows, and that's not to say that it's not because they're funny. Like I think we're all funny in our own way, but there's something to be said for frequency being currency, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like,
But I think there's
there's
a balance between like being involved and being a part of the scene,
yeah,
but also creating your own lane,
yeah,
right? Yeah, I don't know. I see what you're saying. I'm in this weird place where it's harder for me to do the social shit.
yeah.
Like if I'm out, I'm working.
Fair enough, but you're also. I mean, like we're. What,
I also don't get
8 years
invited
apart?
I don't get invited to a lot of stuff. I think people seem to know I'm busy.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, like I just like even going to hang out at like comedy bar. You know what I mean? Just kind of just showing up. Like don't really have a show. Just kind of hanging out. Like doing stuff like that. Something that I want to get more into. Just to kind of be showing face a little bit more. Like
Yeah.
I do think particularly with me because I have such an active social life outside of comedy that sometimes like I'll be. Like it was 2 weeks, for instance. I think it was the night before New Year's. I was like I had some buddies who wanted to meet up, but I wanted to pop into a show. So popped into the show, said hi to some people, and I kind of went out. Like I don't know. Do you, like you look at people who are like successful comedians? I find that their life revolves around comedy, right? Like all their friends are comedians. Not like all their friends, but a lot of their sort of extracurricular activities, whether it's trips that they're taking, things that they're doing when they're not on stage.
Yeah,
it's still comedy
but
adjacent.
I think it's the way that I'm thinking of it is I think you're right, but I think that those are also extensions of like naturally formed friendships.
Yeah,
so like because I think what you're seeing is a lot of the scene are cohorts, people who started at the same time at the same level.
Fair.
And so they've developed these friendships over the years. That like comedy is the center of it. It's the thing that has brought them together. But those relationships are kind of fostered out of that. Yeah. And so it's almost like I don't know. It's harder for me. It's harder because I'm like 10 years older than like the average age of a comic.
I mean, even myself now, like I'm 32. I feel like a lot of, especially newer comics. I mean, like I'm not that much older, but even like a 5-year age difference. Like the difference between someone who's 32 and someone who's 25 is very different. Even though we're
like you're established
7 years apart, it's like man, like you're still taking classes or
you're freshly graduated and you're not fully. I think that's fairly accurate now and not uncommon. That people who finish university now, they're still pretty tied to their parents.
Yeah, there's that as well, right?
Yeah. And so as somebody who's 32, hopefully is now a working independent person.
Yeah.
And you're easily.
I just got out of my mama's basement though, but that's because of the pandemic.
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, pandemic exacerbations aside.
Yeah.
You're a life stage or two ahead of where they are, right?
100%.
And so, and that's what I mean about like I think be active, and then but let your relationships form naturally and create your own thing.
Definitely.
But there's something to be said for showing face. I'd like to be able to do that more. It's just that when I do it, I'm a bad father.
I mean, like like I've done it a few times, and I'll show up and I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna go home, like, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's something. It's something that I'm kind of putting on my, putting on my watch list for 2024 is being more, not even being more active in the scene, just being more active, like as a comedian, right? Instead of spending a night watching sports, maybe go check out someone else's show.
Yeah.
Like just like small shit like that. Like I don't necessarily mean like doing karaoke every week, for instance.
Yeah.
But like showing up for like just showing up for shows, dude. Like
Yeah.
showing up for shows I'm not on, kind of
Just being around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, supporting the scene a little bit more. Like I find I'm very kind of in and out.
Yeah.
Like I'll show up for my Tonight Bar show, and if I'm booked somewhere else in the city, I'll kind of go. But other than that, I'm not even looking at my calendar. Whereas, like I have times where I'm doing my show Tonight Bar, and comics will pop in, and I'll be like, oh, do you want a spot? They're like, no, I just came to check it out, and I'm like, fuck, I never do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, and I did that on Friday, and I got on.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? But
yeah.
But like sometimes these comics don't even want to get on a show. They're just like, nah.
Yeah, well, I didn't go with an expectation of getting on. I was just like, I'm just here to hang. Some of my friends are here, so I'm gonna come hang out. And then I got put on, and it was fun. So,
what show is this?
Taylor McWaters.
I think I know.
He's been at Tonight Bar a few times. Anyway, he's just putting on some shows. So I did a show in December, and then he was putting on another one on Friday. And then I ran into Jeremy Dobsky.
Nice.
And he's like, yeah, I'm going to SoCap with so and so. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I just finished the lab. I'll come hang out. So, and yeah, then I got on. It was fun. So, yeah, man, I feel like I feel like I'm kind of almost starting from scratch. I want to build new material. I want to go up and bomb.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at right now.
I want to just get my feet dirty, feet might wet again, and just get in there, start building. And I don't know. I just want to get back to work. I want to build a stronger set. Because I have some good stuff. I want to make it longer, and I would just want to build my way to being a headliner. So,
well, I remember you were showing me, like, we were talking, and like you kind of broke down your writing technique for me, like the word pad. So like what I did over the holidays was I kind of created a kind of a catalog, for lack of a better word, of like everything. Like I went through all of my voice notes, put it all into an Excel sheet, and kind of looked at it. Like there's some jokes that I did once on like this random voice note from a show in 2022. I'm like, that joke had legs, but because I only did it once and it wasn't a part of my set list per se.
And you weren't organized and you lost track of it.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, dude, there's so many of those that, like, those are the jokes I want to kind of hone right now.
Yeah.
There's a few jokes that I'm like, you know what? I'm happy with where this joke is at. I just don't want to say it again. Until I'm, like, putting it out on a special or something. Like, I want to let this joke lie for a little bit. And then there's some jokes I'm like, man, you said this once. It got a good laugh. And it was more of a sporadic sentence than actually a joke in itself. And
yeah.
Man, this has legs. You got to work on it. So that's kind of my focus this year. Is like you said, just getting back to work.
Yeah, and I'm in the process of kind of reorganizing how I have all my stuff, because right now I use OneDrive, and I have them all in like bits in Word docs.
Yeah.
But it's hard to organize because I've got a like folder for stuff I'm actively performing, stuff that I have in the works, like a folder for dead jokes, like things I've given up on.
Buried, yeah, I call them buried. Those jokes.
Yeah, and then I've got like a set list folder, and so what I'm doing is I'm switching from Word documents to OneNote.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've used OneNote, where it's I'm going from OneNote, and then I've got like a booklet for actively performing, but then they're all the notes are sequential in how I perform them in my set. So I can see them ... in order. Yeah. And then I've got in development, same thing. And so then I can start to transfer them, like if it's development. And then
I like that process.
Right. So if I'm like miking it and I think it's good, then where does it fit now in my real set?
Yeah.
Right. And so I just keep in development, and either dies or it moves into my regular set. And to me, no joke is finished. So like I keep if I'm ever struggling.
No joke. I mean, like, I don't know. To me, some jokes are finished. Right?
I mean, like I find that if it's a shorter one, but if it's a good premise, and if I've got like 4 jokes, or like a joke and a bunch of tags, I try to figure out what else if I can run with it.
Add to it,
right? If it already works, if I can add to it, if I can take it in a different direction. I try to go back to existing stuff if I'm struggling to write new stuff.
How long would you say you have of like polished material? Like if you got a special, right? Like if Netflix approached you and they're like, "Hey, we're giving you a special, Jay. How long do you want? How much material are you comfortable putting on screen like that?"
If I was to do a special,
Yeah,
like of, I think I could do 30.
30.
And I would need
That's kind of where I'm at.
And I could be, but I would need to be unbelievably prepared because because I rarely, if ever, get to do 30. I think I've done 30 once or twice. I've done a few 20s. I've done a bunch of 20s, but I've done 30 very minimally. So I've got like parts of my set. If I was to list out everything I have, there are parts of it that I never get to do.
Yeah.
Right. If you're capped at 15, well, your 15 to 20 rarely gets done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's portions of my set that I just don't get to do very often. But I did a show in Cambridge early December, and there was a guy there who they run a mic. He's like, "Do you want to come do 30?" Because we have like people come out. I'm like, "Hell yeah!" Because I rarely get the chance to do that. But I knew it, like when that I don't have a date yet, but I'm gonna have to really prepare for it if I'm gonna do a 30.
Do a 30, yeah. I mean, sorry. So like with 30s, I find, right? Like, do you do a lot of crowd work? Because I feel like you can turn your 20, 25 into a 30 easily if you just like throw in crowd work, right?
Yeah.
Like to me, when I talk about like a Netflix special, unless it's like a crowd work comic, right? Like you watch Chappelle's special.
No special involves crowd work.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So I'm more thinking like you have the mic in your hand. Fuck the audience, just me and my jokes.
To me, crowd work is a skill that you need to have as a host.
As a host, of course, yeah.
And you need to have it as a skill when things aren't going great.
Yeah.
Like when the crowd is tense or something. Like sometimes, I think we've both done those shows where your pre-prepared stuff, they're not interested.
They don't even want to hear.
They don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
they want to be talked to, or the only way they're going to loosen up is if they're talked to. And so to me, like I remember I did a show, an out of town show, and the local guys were just doing all their stuff, including the host.
Yeah.
Just doing regular material because they don't do as many shows.
Yeah.
And I was feature, and I knew going up, I was like, I'm the host now. Because nobody had talked to the audience yet.
Yeah, fair.
So I knew that I needed to fill that role, and I wanted to set up the headliner for success too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough for me because having never truly headlined, it's hard to say. I think I'm more in a place where it's like, I just want to be a good comic.
Yeah.
And I think that specials are what good comics do. And if I don't think like I'm a great comic yet, to me, like doing a special, doing any sort of recording, to me, that's not even on the radar because there's too much work to be done first.
Yeah.
Right. Like I need more material. I can't even, why would I think about doing a recording when I only have 30 that's iffy?
True.
Right. Like,
like a solid 20 and then 10 you could have done without.
Yeah. Like I was talking to Matt Pisinski yesterday and I was saying like 45 minutes with 6 to 9 laughs per minute. Right. Like that's headliner level.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm consciously like tracking that.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Like I
managed to figure it out.
I track laughs per minute and like all that stuff. Like when I first started doing comedy, I was very very meticulous about the craft in terms of like how jokes were structured and everything. And I always found that like unless you're telling a long story and you're an established comedian and like that's kind of your style kind of thing, right? Like when you start out, it should just be stick and move. Like
that's what I'm saying, right? Like if I'm only have 7 minutes, I'm pounding them. I want as many laughs as I can possibly get in that time. You're doing 30, you got a little chance to give them a lull, in the middle, and then you can get back to it. But to me, for us, that amount of time is a luxury. And for now, I just want to be as funny as possible for as long as possible.
I mean,
I want to keep them rolling the whole time.
Yeah, right. Like you want to be memorable. I did a show in Hamilton at the beginning of December, like I think like second week of December or something. That just went really well. I was headlining. I forgot the name of the bar, but Haley Laura runs it. Great room. fuck, I'm forgetting the name of the bar. But anyway, like, I think I got off the stage and I did like 22, 23 minutes. And around like the 15-minute mark, I like lost track where I was in my set.
Yeah.
So I just started trying these new bits that I like that were just fresh in my mind. And they all went well in a way. So luckily I recorded it because then I was like, okay, now I have like a new 7-minute set that I can kind of start going out and refining.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you give me 15, I can do 15 tops to bottom, but it's gonna be jokes that I've been doing for a while, and I'm kind of at the point where like I'm almost jaded about my own jokes.
But that's when you need to reinvest in them, right? It's like I've got this bit that I'm tired of, but I added these 3 new tags that I really want to do, right? And so I heard
that's
Ralphie
an
May.
interesting approach.
Yeah, like I watched that Ralphie May thing at the Comedy Store. Have you seen it? It's a video on YouTube of Ralphie May at the Comedy Store. I think it's like almost 2 hours, and he's just doling out advice about comedy. Now, I'm repeating some conversations when I was telling Matt yesterday. Take it with a grain of salt because a lot of his advice is the old world of comedy and promotion in the sense of he doesn't take into account social media at all.
Oh,
he's all about making trying to write for sitcoms or writing gigs and getting on. He was on Last Comic Standing. So a lot of his stuff was advice for making it in the old system.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a little bit of leeway with how things are now with social media.
100%.
But a lot of the stuff he said was gold.
Out there, yeah. It's
like,
a whole new game.
I'm actually like trimming my beard more when I go out because he's saying like, no, the main character is almost always never has a beard. Don't cover your face from the audience.
I'm trying to think of comics. Like, I can't think of a comic with a beard off the top of my head right now, which is like weird.
Yeah.
Right? Like, can you think of a comic with like a really bushy beard? I can't.
Tom Segura,
yeah.
But he didn't used to.
Yeah.
Right? Bill Kreischer has a beard. Or Bert Kreischer has a beard. So
Nate Bargatze has one now.
Yeah.
He never used to though, right? Like,
yeah. So I'm trying to I always like to have a little bit of scruff, but I'm taking it down a little bit more than I used to.
So that's always kind of the small stuff matters. That's what I find out.
Well, a bunch of small things add up to a big thing.
Yeah, exactly right. That's kind of, look at us waxing on and waxing off poetic.
This is it was I love talking shop though.
Yeah,
and I love talking with Derek.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah. I want to be cognizant of time. How long have we been at this?
What time we jump on? Like,
we've been doing this is an hour and a half. We're in an hour and a half. So
it doesn't feel like an hour and a half.
I know. I feel like
it's really good. We really jumped around though. We went. We opened light. We went heavy for a bit.
Yeah.
Ended light. I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. This is great. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Thanks everybody for watching. Derek Kalala. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, brother.
Anytime.
Always happy to come back.
Yeah, man. Well, I think this year we should do more shit.
Yeah, 100%. I see you, Aiden, Alex, and a couple other guys on tour. Tetsos. Yeah. What's going on with that before we jump off? Plug the tour. Baby.
I can't remember the dates, but our mutual friend Aiden Long is booking these out of town shows in Ontario for us, and they're selling.
Yeah, well, Aiden told me he was going to get me on them, and then I see this poster, and I'm not on them. So,
well, I think you were busy for one, and then you missed your window.
Oh,
I think you should just talk to him. And
yeah,
then
I'm going to message him.
Yeah, I gotta.
As soon as we get out of here, I'm going to make Jay said.
It's all white guys, so
that's what I
think we would like to just spice it up a touch. Yeah. It looks bad.
Aiden, holla at your boy.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See ya. Yeah.